Okay, Thomas, should I start? Are you reordering on your side?
I think you may have intended to say recording.
That's what I said.
Well, take a listen, Cheryl.
Okay. Okay, Thomas, should I start? Are you reordering on your side?
Welcome to Pod Ask Us.
Isn't it Pod Access?
Can it be both?
Connecting deaf and disabled podcasters to audiences and each other.
Ba-dum-dum-bat-ba-dum.
Editing!
A powerful tool not only for cleaning up mistakes, but for most of us recording outside of fancy studios. Chances are you'll experience uninvited additions to your conversations.
Loud sanitation trucks collecting the trash, barking dogs, cars that go by with their booming system. Hey, Podcat, get out of here! Ugh.
Editing is also a tool that can help craft your story.
Your conversation could be edited down to the most concise responses. After you edit the responses, you can go back and record an introduction to each response or even re-record your questions.
Editing enables the stitching of the post-recorded introductions and the abbreviated responses into one smooth, flowing narrative.
You don't have to stop there. Editing lets you include other sources, sound design, and/or music to even further enhance your story.
Whether you're producing a chat or a free-flowing conversation-style podcast, a narrative style where a narrator moves the story along, or a radio drama, editing will improve the end result.
And Thomas, I see you too are ready to edit.
Yeah, that's right. I'm dressed for comfort with my Fat Albert and the Gang sweatshirt. And of course, I have my handy over-ear headphones.
I have my headphones too. Let's talk about the difference in the editing software available today.
There are two types of editing software available today: single file and multitrack editors.
Oh, let me guess. The single file editor only works with one file at a time?
Exactly. It's a great name. If a podcast is recorded with one or more voices on one file, a single file editor will do the trick to remove unwanted sections, move sections around the timeline, or even insert other audio clips.
Single file editors are known as destructive editors, not because they mess stuff up. It's because they overwrite the file as you work, destroying the original. If you use one, save a copy of your original before you start editing in case you want to start over.
Multitrack editors, on the other hand, can simultaneously edit multiple files without overwriting the originals.
Instead of recording a conversation with multiple people on one file, if each person is recorded on their own track, there would be a separate file for each one.
So if there were 3 people in the conversation, a host and 2 guests, the result of the recording will produce 3 audio files.
Pulling those files into a multitrack editor lets you edit all 3 at the same time. In a multitrack environment, you have more options to enhance the quality of the audio.
In the example of a host and 2 guests, suppose guest number 2 has a bad case of the sniffles. While guest 1 is responding to a question, guest 2 is constantly sniffing into the microphone.
In a multitrack environment, guest 2's audio could easily be muted or cut out, effectively stopping their sniffles, at least in the recording.
In a multi-track environment, the original files are never altered. The edits are more referential, and new files incorporating the edits must be rendered as an entirely new file.
In a multitrack environment, adding new content is as easy as adding a new track and placing the new content where you want it on a timeline.
Even if you're only going to edit single files, personally, I suggest using a multi-track editor.
There are free options like Audacity and GarageBand, and low-cost and powerful options like Reaper that work on both Mac and PC.
As a screen reader user, these are accessible options. My personal preference is Reaper. It's quite flexible, and there's a community of screen reader users who have helped to make it even more accessible. Whether you plan to edit yourself or in some way outsource the task, you should be familiar with what editing can do to help make your podcast the best it can be. If you do plan to outsource, be sure to check out the Skillshare directory on podaccess.net. What role will editing play in your podcast?
What role will you play in your editing?
Let us know. Go to podaccess.net and hit the Contact Us button.
and you can upload a voice memo or write a message.
And you might just hear it.
Read it.
Or see it in a future episode of the podcast or on social media.
Tell a friend and an enemy to follow or subscribe to Pod Access wherever you get your podcasts.
Podaccess.net